Hey, everybody, welcome back to Inside the Five. It's Stav,
It's Griff.
It's Will.
and we're back. We're doing our second annual college basketball March Madness predictions, our bracket picks. Last year we were in person. Unfortunately, due to circumstances, we're all on our streaming platform, but that's okay. We're
It's a
here. We're
snowstorm.
ready.
We're in the middle of a snowstorm.
We're ready to roll, ready to roll, ready to roll. We're going to make the perfect bracket, win $1 million. We are in dire need of that. So this is a cold open. We're going right into it. We're starting with the Southern Conference, and we're starting with the number 1 seed Alabama facing off against Texas A&M CC and Southern Eastern Missouri State. It's Alabama. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. We're not even going to discuss.
I do want to say shout out Corpus Christi, my favorite community college in Division I basketball. And Semo had a very good year, but you're playing Bama. That's all I got. Yeah, it's Bama all the way.
It's always been Bama.
Yeah. Next, Maryland and West Virginia. This is going to be a good game. I'm actually very excited to watch this. Initial thoughts, I got West Virginia. Maryland has been a very streaky team, and every time I pick them, they lose. Every time I pick against them, they win. So this will be interesting to see. But I like West Virginia here in a loaded conference. I got them going.
Well,
I'm also going to take West Virginia here. I like the 9 here over the 8. I agree with you, Stav, with them being a little bit of a streaky team. Maryland. I feel like every time we see them in the tournament, I feel like they always come in as a streaky team. So they definitely are a team that can do some damage if they get hot. But West Virginia is one of those teams that can go out there and win a game. So
and we'll call it a clean sweep. Maryland plays a good defensive style of basketball, but they've been cold, especially through the Big Ten tournament. It's West Virginia. We're taking the 9 over the 8 here.
All right. Moving on to the 5-12, San Diego State and Charleston. You know, a lot of people have this as an upset, but I mean, I'm on record saying that I love San Diego State this year. I know they're from the Mountain West, that no one in that conference really wins. And I think no team they're in the Mountain West, right? I'm not just like crazy. Yeah. No team in the Mountain West has gotten past this round of 32 since San Diego State did the last time they made a run. So that has something to say, but this team is deep. I don't think that they will get upset in the first round, and I have them doing some damage. We'll go through the predictions as this goes on, but I got San Diego State against Charleston.
Yeah, and Charleston, who started off the year like really, really hot, found themselves in the top 25 at one point. I don't know if you guys remember that earlier in the year, but they got screwed by this 5 versus 12 matchup. If they were playing any other 5 seed, I may have them advancing to the next round, maybe with the exception of Duke. But San Diego State is facing their perfect team where San Diego State plays a very defensive style of basketball. College of Charleston kind of likes to get out on the break. They can't shoot the 3 ball that well. And if you want to beat San Diego State in this tournament, you're going to have to outshoot them. So it's got to be SDSU.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's always been SDSU.
Yep. All right.
Yeah.
Next, we got the 4-13 matchup with Virginia and Furman. There's really not much to say here. I also have Virginia. I think although Virginia has some offensive woes, I don't think that that's going to continue into this tournament. They're an experienced team. I really do like them in this first round, and their defense is locked down. And when you're facing kind of the mid-tier conferences, you will see the skill gap essentially and the difference in athleticism in players, where Virginia, I think, is going to run away with this one. I got Virginia.
Well,
I'm also taking Virginia. I think this might end up being one of the games that we see, and it's just a blowout. I don't really see Furman having a shot in this game at all.
All right. Well, it is overpowered, but I'm taking Furman in this game. The Paladins are dancing for the first time in 43 years. They shoot the ball at such an efficient rate, 46% from the field. They're a 3-point shooting team, and kind of just like what I said with San Diego State, when you're playing a defensive team, you have to be able to shoot the ball, and Furman's kind of in a position to do so. But we will be taking Virginia because 2 beats 1.
I'm going to write as a note that you picked Furman.
Okay.
just in
Okay.
case we
Just
look
remember
back
that.
at it. So it's written in the
Just remember it. Remember
yeah.
it.
All right. Next, we have one of the teams in our conference, Creighton, facing NC State. The 6 versus 11 matchup. To be honest, when I was filling out my bracket for the first time, it was so hard for me to pick against Big East teams.
Yes.
But I don't think that this is me being biased. I actually think that Creighton will win this matchup.
Yep.
I think that although they didn't really perform up to their standards in the Big East semifinal, I think that they do bounce back, and with a lot of preparation and time, they will be ready to go in this game. And it stinks because we're not really picking many upsets, but I really do like Creighton in this. And NC State has been a streaky team, kind of as I've said before about Maryland, but NC State's streaky, right? They'll lose certain games, and I just feel like Creighton is due to win this game.
Yeah, no, don't worry, because I'm right there with you with Creighton, and you're right. Like, going through the first time, it was all Big East, and now I think it's going to be a little bit different. But I got Creighton in this matchup, and don't worry about the upsets, because they'll be coming soon. In my opinion, the South is the easiest for the highest seeds. I mean, Bama has a easy, clear run in my opinion, but we got to fill out the rest of this. Just get ready for the East and the West. That's especially the Midwest too, with Houston at the 1. There will be some upsets soon, I promise.
100%.
But
And
we're going Creighton. We're going Creighton.
Yeah, we're going Creighton, and like you guys said, the South Division is definitely the side of the bracket where the top seeds are going to take the way. It's clear. Like, I mean, there is a few teams that could put up a fight, but you won't really see the battles until we move to the other divisions.
Yeah, agreed. All right. Next, we have the 3-14 matchup, Baylor and UCSB. I hate Baylor. I've always hated Baylor in in March Madness. Every single time that I pick them to go far, they lose in the first round. And I'm picking my first upset here. I got UCSB here.
I actually have some numbers.
Mhm.
Okay, one sec. Let me break this down from a fundamental standpoint. Since 2000, there's been 22 teams to fit this criteria of teams that you should avoid. None of these teams have made the Final Four. Only one team has made the Elite Eight. You have to be a top 6 seed in your region. Baylor fits that, being the 3 seed. Top 25 raw offense in the Ken Palm. Baylor fits that. Outside the top 150 in raw defense. These teams historically get upset. We were talking about Kentucky last year with St. Peter's. There's no balance from this team. There's a few more of these teams that I'm going to be talking about later, specifically for it in general, but it starts here with the Lobos of UC Santa Barbara. I told you an upset would be coming soon.
Yep.
It just makes sense. It's all in the numbers. There's statistical research backing this one up. And there has to be at least 1 3 seed that loses in the first round this year.
100%.
Well, Griff, you know me. I always trust the numbers, so I'm riding with that as well.
What
All
are
right.
the numbers?
Next, we have Missouri and Utah State, the 7-10 matchup in the South. I'm going to get things started. I like Utah State. Utah State is a very they're like a very methodical team, right? Like, everything they do is very calculated. They get to the cup, they have very strong guard play, and they beat teams that are essentially better than them on paper, right? They're a very well coached team. They take very smart shots, and I think it's one of those teams that I guarantee this game is going to be very close. And Utah State doesn't make mistakes when it's close. Just based off of watching them in conference play and in the regular season, I have Utah State in this one.
Well,
I'm going to take Utah. Yeah, it is a tough game. And you know what? I think I might take Utah State on this one too. I kind of do like the upset here. Every time I feel like I pick Mizzou in a bracket, I feel like they always get upset, or like they really just don't play a good game. And like, I think they're gonna go for like a little bit of run, maybe win a couple games in the tournament. And like, their first game is just so bad, and they end up getting destroyed in the second round. So I might as well just avoid them to begin with. So I'm gonna take Utah State.
Yeah, good move. I'm taking Utah State too. Clean sweep. Missouri just don't love the way that they played in their conference tournament. They would have been a lot of a higher seed And 7-10 matchups, I don't count as an upset. This is a clean win from Utah State, in my opinion. But I do have this being as one of like the best games in the first round.
Agreed. All right, next to wrap up the South region, we are in the round of 64. We have Arizona and Princeton. The smart kids never really win these games.
No, let's go Arizona and let's move on to the East.
Yeah, I always over evaluate the smart schools. Like anytime that Yale's and Harvard's in, I'm like, oh wow, they're smart. They can figure. No, they never figure it out.
No, the geometry just doesn't work. They don't get the ball in the basket enough. They don't. How do you not have the angles right? Or isn't that what you're at school for? But
all right,
no, it's
Purdue. And we're moving on to the East. We're going Purdue. 116.
I do want to give a shout out to Fairleigh Dickinson. I actually think that they're going to put up a bit of a fight. I think they're going to beat Texas Southern. Even if Texas Southern wins, I like the way that they played this year. But Fairleigh Dickinson has been going absolutely ballistic in their conference this year. But Zach Edey is 7'5", and nobody is 7'5" on the other two teams.
Yeah. All right. Next, Memphis and FAU. FAU is on like their best. This is like their best season in school history. I think I was like I see them on my TikTok For You page more than any other team. Like they won their conference. Obviously, they're competing. They're playing well. Memphis is a pretty good school too. It's tough. This is a tough matchup. I mean, as are all the 8-9 matchups. I got FAU here. You got to ride with the hot hand.
I was going to say, if I'm taking FAU here, I remember, I think when during Selection Sunday, I believe they said that they were on a very hot streak. They were coming in with a good mindset, which is probably one of the bigger keys coming in for the tighter matchups. Because if they're coming in booming right off the gate, they're going to be a team that can win in the first round, especially against a good Memphis team. So I'm taking FAU.
The pod's taking FAU. I just want to say that my pick is Memphis for this game. Even though they're a glorified AAU program, FAU only has two regulars, two people that play like on a consistent basis that are taller than 6'4". So I'm 6'1". I'd be the power forward on their team. But you know, I don't want to talk down their 31-3 season and the fact that they are both top 40 in offense and defensive efficiency. I have no trouble seeing them winning this game, but I do want to be on record saying that I have Memphis.
All right. This is a very interesting matchup that we're coming across here with the number 5 seed Duke versus the number 12 Oral Roberts. Oral Roberts had an outstanding season, right? And if you're a 12 seed, this is kind of the 5 seed that you do want to face, right? And hold up.
I don't know if I agree, Stav. I don't know if I agree at all.
Well, this is a good matchup for them, in my opinion. I think Oral Roberts has I don't think they're going to win. Let me get that clear. I'm picking
Okay.
Duke.
Okay.
Well, I
have Duke in the Final Four.
Yeah, I have them.
I just want to say that I do have Duke in the final. Duke is the hottest team in college basketball right now.
Yeah.
Because, and here's the thing, Oral Roberts is a great school, and Max A. Smith has been amazing for the past 3 years, and Duke is just, you know, the hottest team in basketball right now. And I think that there's a lot of hype around Oral Roberts because what they've done in the tournament in recent history. So I think there's a bit of recency bias. And I'm egging you guys to please take Duke in this game. Please take Duke.
I mean, I think they'll win. I think Duke will win, but
it's going to be a good game. I agree.
Do not overlook Oral Roberts. If Duke overlooks Oral Roberts, as Duke has had a history of doing in the tournament, they can kind of continue to overlook teams that they should beat, right? They have a history of second round upsets against lower seed teams when they've been a pretty high seed. But this is a closer in seeding matchup than we're used to with Duke. So it's just something to look out for.
Yep.
Do not overlook Oral Roberts or they will beat you.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree. But I think for this case, I think we should all be on Duke here. I think it just goes back to the point where, you know, Oral Roberts is 30-4. Max A. Smith has been a guy that everybody's been looking at all year. This is the first year in program history that people are actually watching Oral Roberts regular season games. And to that point, I think they fold under the pressure. I think that this is supposed to be their year. And of course, they're ranked as a 12 seed because they play in a conference nobody has heard of. Their center is 7'5". He has over 100 block shots this season. But I think Duke takes advantage of that. And Duke has 4 NBA players on their team at the end of the day. And their point guard, I don't remember his name because I'm a UNC fan and I prefer to not know any names of Duke players. But he's fully healthy once again. Defensive guard as well. So he's going to be on Abe Smith. They have a lot of bigs over in Dookie land. So in my opinion, it's got to be Duke. And it's hard to pick them, but in a couple of my brackets already, I made 4 brackets and 2 of them, I low-key have Duke in the Final Four.
Yeah, no, I unfortunately have to pick Duke in this scenario. I do think Oral Roberts might end up putting up a fight, and it might be closer than what we would normally expect because they have had a great season. But
Mhm.
I just don't see Duke losing this game.
And I think it'll be a good test for Duke. I think that this will be a great test game, a great round 1 game where they don't blow out a team where they think that they should or they think that they can and they don't. And Stav, just like we were talking about Xavier, how they were so close with DePaul, that's a good game for them. It's good to get past that and be like, okay, we struggled a little bit. We got through it. What did we do wrong in that game? What are we going to do better in this next game where we're playing against either the winner of Tennessee or Louisiana?
Yeah, exactly. I agree. And that's just a perfect transition into it. Let's talk about who we got in Tennessee and Louisiana. And I got the Volunteers. I got the Volunteers. They play stifling defense. They deserve to be where they are, although they kind of fell off in the top 25 rankings towards the end of the year and didn't really have a strong SEC tournament. Or they could have done better. They're one of the teams that you want to see in that SEC championship against Alabama, but or no, I'm sorry. No, I was right. I was right. They could have. Yes, I was right. But I got Tennessee here. I don't see them losing in the first round.
Yeah, and it's tough to pick against an SEC team. I love the way that the Raging Cajuns have been playing this year. Their biggest weak spot, though, in Louisiana is how they work at the charity stripe. One of the worst free throw shooting teams in this tournament. And just for that, I have Louisiana in some of my brackets winning this game because I'm not the biggest believer in Sam Vescovi, who people say is Tennessee's best player. But another team that's returning one of their best point guards or their best point guard and Kai Ziegler, I'm going to have to go with Tennessee in this game as well. Shout out to the Sun Belt Conference, though. Shout out to the Sun Belt.
Thanks. I'm also taking Tennessee. I think obviously they started off the year kind of hot, and like later on when we go through the bracket and when I've looking through my brackets, they're one of those teams that scares me later on, like in a bad way. I get nervous picking them over some teams just because I just don't know how they're going to play. Like obviously, like the hot hand is usually pretty confident going in through most games. So sometimes having that weird little streak towards the end of the year can hurt or kind of just keep you around the same area. So, but I'm definitely taking Tennessee against the Raging Cajuns.
All right, next we got a Big East team here, boys, and Kentucky and Providence are facing off. Somebody else take the first pick here.
I got you. You can pass the first pick on to me whenever you want. I'm going with Kentucky. Oscar Tshiebwe is bound to have a big game against Providence. Providence, who you could argue underperformed in the Big East tournament. I think they lost when they should have. And I think they're around the seating that they should be. Kentucky's a better program than Providence. At the end of the day, they're better coached. They have more NBA prospects. And Oscar Tshiebwe is 45 years old and playing college basketball. So it's hard to pick against them in this round. And, we have some Big East bias, but the Big East bias went with Creighton over NC State, who I think is going to be a tough game. I'm going to have to go with Kentucky in this one.
I'm also taking Kentucky in this one. Providence is one of those teams where, like in the regular season, they could beat your favorite team. They do have the ability to just go out there and win a game at any means. But like you said, Griff, Kentucky is just the better program. I think they're going to take this in the first round easily.
I'm surprised that that's the narrative, but it's a Bryce Hopkins revenge game. I was going to pick Providence, so I'm glad that you two picked the other way. And there's a lot of storyline that goes around this, right? If hypothetically
Definitely.
Kentucky loses again in the first round, Calipari's on the hot seat. And
Yeah.
especially if they lose to a team led by a kid who he didn't play, causing him to transfer.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think that there's a whole lot of storyline here. And I think Bryce Hopkins has one of these games where it's like one of the most memorable performances in the first round, just based off of the storyline, right? I'm a fiend for storyline. I'm just going on record saying I'm taking Providence in this one.
Yep.
And just based off of, I mean, kind of like we said, recency bias, Kentucky has underperformed in the tournament in recent years. So I think that trend's going to continue, and I think Calipari's on the hot seat. So I'm just writing down that I'm taking Providence. All right, next game, we got Kansas State 3 seed versus Montana State 14 seed. Kansas State.
Yeah. Don't get fooled by the all 3 versus 14. Kansas State is one of the better 3 seeds in this whole tournament, and Kansas State has been putting it on all season. I think they have no trouble with Montana State.
Yeah, Kansas State.
Next, moving on, 7 seed Michigan State against 10 seed USC. Michigan State got hot at the right time, right?
Yep,
and I was a little bit surprised to see him as a 7 seed, but that's neither here or that. But with that being said, I have USC in this game.
You asked me to pick a Pac-12 over a Big Ten team. I don't know if I'll ever do that in my life, unless it's maybe Arizona this year. Give me Tom Izzo, big trust. Give me Michigan State in this game. Will, you're the deciding factor.
A lot of pressure, but I've actually watched quite a few Michigan State fans, as one of my roommates is a Michigan State fan. Or games, my bad. I said the wrong way. I've been watching a lot of Michigan State games. One of my roommates is a Michigan State fan, so I have been seeing a lot of their basketball. They are very good. I'm going Michigan State in this one.
In my opinion, if you give USC a 10 seed, that means that they have no business being in the tournament. I think that USC is supposed to be like year in and year out, like a 3, 4, or 5 seed. A 10 seed means they just snuck in because they were looking to throw in another Pac-12 team. That's and Stav, you know my thoughts on the Pac-12. The Pac-12 is fake. So a Pac-12 team being a 10 seed, that's as fake as it gets. That's a fraudulent line right there.
All right, moving on to the last of the Eastern region. Marquette, the Big East champions, versus Vermont. I can't pick against Marquette right now.
Give me the Catamounts. No. It's Marquette. It's Marquette. Vermont plays in that conference that's near us with like UMass Lowell and all of them. Yeah. And I still can't tell you the name of the conference. So that's why I'm taking Marquette.
Yeah.
It's always been Marquette. Vermont's not coming close.
Got Marquette making a run here too as well. So
all right. Moving on to the Midwest region. 1 versus 16, Houston versus Northern Kentucky. I mean, yeah, it's going to be Houston, but out of all the 116 games, I think this is going to be the closest.
Yeah, agreed. If anything, I would say maybe either Fairleigh Dickinson / Texas Southern. I think both of those programs are good. Against Purdue might be a pretty good game as well, but Houston, yeah, I have them going into the round of 64. I don't know how much longer I have them lasting in this tournament, though.
But yeah, I'm taking Houston here in the first round. They're also, like you said, Griff, they're one of those teams I just don't – I'm not too confident as a
don't love the American Conference either, yeah.
No.
All right, next, Iowa and Auburn, 8-9 matchup. Somebody take this one.
I got you. Iowa, a family company. Give me Iowa. Their coach, I swear, has like 3 or 4 sons on the team. If not, they all just look the same. They shoot the hell out of the ball. They have very efficient guard play. Auburn on a down year, same thing. This has been an SEC bias throwing them in there at 20-12, where, they lost twice to Bama. They split with Tennessee. They beat Tennessee when Tennessee was down. they lost to West Virginia. They split with Arkansas. They lost by 32 points to Kentucky. I was going to go out there and shoot the hell out of the ball, shoot over their head. I have Iowa splashing and maybe hitting like 23s in this game. I'm not even kidding. And literally maybe only scoring threes in this game and winning. I think that they are one of the most efficient three-point shooting teams in this tournament. So I got Iowa. Family company. Well,
I'm taking Iowa as well. Looking at Auburn's like losses that they show, those are just bad losses overall. They just look like you look at those losses and you look at the team that they're playing, you expect, oh, how would you expect them to beat Iowa in this situation? I don't see it. So going Iowa.
Yeah, this is a clean sweep with Iowa. I was going to pick Iowa, but I was just kind of curious if some SEC bias would be showing. So next, we have Miami and Drake. Miami is a team that loses games they should win.
mm-hmm.
Just they can't keep a lead, and it's just kind of annoying. But I don't think they're going to lose this game. I have Miami in this one, but I would not be surprised at all if Drake won this game.
Yeah, and me and Will have some Drake bias here. But I'll shut it all down. I'm going Miami. And I love Drake and I love what they did for me last year. But this year I just don't think that they're really the same.
I agree. I obviously, like you said, the Drake bias. They're not the same as they were when we were riding along with them. It's tough because they might give them a tough run, but I have to go Miami here.
Definitely.
All right. Next, Indiana and Kent State. Indiana consistently just stays winning big games.
Yeah.
They didn't win the conference, of course, but
difficult conference.
This is a win.
Yeah,
I got
definitely.
Indiana here. They're
yep, definitely. And this should be a clean sweep. Shout out Julian Edelman, Kent State.
Mm-hmm. Maybe he'll be in attendance. All right. Next, this I am very excited to talk about because we have Iowa State versus the winner of Mississippi State and Pitt. And I don't care who wins that Mississippi State and Pitt game. They're winning this game against Iowa State.
And in my opinion, it's going to be Pittsburgh that wins this game.
Yes.
And, I agree with you. Even if Mississippi State wins, I still like them to edge out Iowa State. This is just a classic 6 versus 11 matchup. And I think that for both of these teams, being one of those last 4 in teams, having that extra game, in my opinion, some people say it fatigues them a little bit. I think it's going to help them a little bit. It's going to be a nice little win. You have a March Madness win going into a game against Iowa State, who, in my opinion, is the worst 6 seed out of them all. I would say they're the worst, and maybe Creighton is a bit ahead of them, and then you got Kentucky, and then we'll get to TCU as well. But I have Pittsburgh winning this game against Mississippi State, a big momentum win for an ACC team who, going into the ACC tournament, fell down to the 5 seed, where in the last game of the season against Miami, you remember, could have been the 1 seed if they won that game. So they fell all the way down to an 11 seed. And I think Pittsburgh took that and is going to use that as a little chalkboard, whiteboard material and win that game, get a big win, go on to Iowa State and win that game as well.
I got Pitt winning that first matchup and then beating Iowa State.
Call it a sweep.
Yeah.
Call it a sweep. Here we go.
All right. Next, another Big East team we have Xavier versus Kennesaw State. I'm going Xavier here, and Sule Boom is gonna go off.
Sule Boom is gonna drop 40 on Kennesaw State.
I'm sorry, Kennesaw State doesn't stand a chance.
No, literally, absolutely no chance, and it's gonna be all Sule Boom. It's gonna be magnificent. The dude is from Oakland, California, wears number 0, has the same haircut as Damian Lillard, and the kid pulls up from half court. Give me Marquette, or not Marquette. Give me Xavier. Give me Marquette over Xavier, obviously. Shout out the Big East tournament final. But
Xavier,
I can't stop talking about that. It was Xavier. It's always the Musketeers.
Yep, zip them up. So
zip them up. Zip them
we have probably the matchup of the first round, right? With Texas A&M and Penn State, the 7 versus 10. Texas A&M really did get screwed by being a 7 seed, in my opinion.
Definitely.
if I'm a Texas A&M fan, I'm livid, but just because I'm a fan of college basketball, this is an awesome matchup, right? I'm very happy that Texas A&M is a 7 seed just for this matchup. This is going to be the matchup of the first round. These are two very evenly matched teams. Penn State is hot at the right time, and they made a
I think
conference.
Texas A&M is too.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because Penn State, I feel like, has overperformed what in recent not in recent memory. They've overperformed in the last month or so to make a run to be where they are right now. So with that being said, I got Penn State in this game.
Well, who are you going with?
I'm gonna go Texas A&M. I'm gonna go Texas A&M. I was thinking about taking the 10 with Penn State, but I think I'm gonna ride with Texas A&M.
How far did Penn State make it in the Big Ten? They went deep, right?
Yeah, they made it to the championship.
They made it to the championship and they lost. And Texas A&M went pretty far too. And
they both made it to the championship and lost to 1 seeds.
To 1 seeds, I know. This is the game of the first round, in my opinion, because both these teams are extremely hot. This is the toughest decision that we're gonna have to make on this. I'm gonna go strictly, based off of these teams' ability to beat top 25 and great teams. I'm gonna go A&M. I'm gonna go A&M here. I think Penn State's a good program, but you're right, Stav. They got hot at the right time, but having that week off, it's like, okay, we're kind of cooling off here. I think Texas A&M, it has a bit more stability around that pick, just in my opinion. So we're going to go A&M. Right.
Texas and Colgate, the 2-15 matchup that's next. I got Texas here.
Yeah.
Not much to say.
I did take Colgate in one of my brackets, though. Okay. But then also in another bracket, I had Texas winning the national championship.
Okay,
so in the belly up sports bracket, I took Texas winning the national. Sorry, I just didn't include you guys in that. That's my bracket. I filled it out last night at like 3 a.m. and it was a crazy Final Four. It was like the crazy. I'll talk to you guys about it later. It was craziest Final Four. I had Texas beating Bama in the national championship, and the other two teams were like 10 seeds. So
the South would go nuts. So, all right. Next, we're moving on to the Western region, starting with Kansas and Howard. I have Kansas. Not much to say about
that. Yeah. Fraudulent team, though. Fraudulent team. Very fraudulent team. Grady Dick doesn't move off ball, and I don't like that. That is the one thing going up against them. Jalen Wilson, though. I mean, you're playing against Howard. Howard had a good year in the MEAC, but I mean, Kansas. It's Kansas. It's the one versus.
Yeah, it's always been Kansas.
All right, Arkansas and Illinois. This is a weird game, in my opinion. Two teams. It's an ugly jersey matchup. It's an ugly matchup in general, but it's obviously an 8 versus 9. It's going to be a close one. I got Illinois.
I'm gonna go.
Oh,
you're going Illinois? Okay. All right,
I'm going Illinois.
All right, cool. I'll be on record. I got Arkansas in this game. So, but we'll go Illinois. We'll go Illinois. Obviously, 2 beats 1.
All right. Next, we have St. Mary's and VCU. Give me VCU in this one. St. Mary's, in my opinion, has had a disappointing season up to their standards. Last season was a great season, one of the best seasons in school history. And this St. Mary's team, they really started to fall off towards the end of the year, in my opinion, at least. They underperformed.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't like this.
Give me VCU. Give me VCU. Yeah. I'll take them too. Why not? We'll make this a little bit easier for you.
I was going to say VCU too. Both two good defensive teams, defensive battle.
Yep.
Take the lower seed in that.
Good shot. Right. St. Mary's, you're right. Their year was last year, Stav, offensive wise. They kind of changed to more of a defensive mindset. And you're right, Will. Both of these teams only let up around 60 to like 63 points a game. It's going to be a low scoring game, in my opinion. And I think VCU can hit big shots down the stretch. So, and they struggled to make 3-pointers throughout their conference tournament, but they made their way through. And, it's a big matchup, a 12 versus 5, and I actually don't think we took any other 12s.
No, we did not.
No.
So we had to
For
take
12,
one. So we had, no, we didn't. I'm looking, so we had to take one, definitely.
Mm-hmm. All right, next we have our UConn Huskies facing Iona. I have UConn, but I'm nervous, to be honest. I'm a little nervous. I'm a
little Rick Pitino, welcome to the Big East. So you know how welcomings go. They never go well. It's the Huskies. And you know what? I think them taking a loss of that stature to Marquette in the semifinal, only a 2-point loss where the defense was absolutely horrific in the second half. That's going to be a big momentum shift for them. I think a team can either take a loss like that to heart and, you know, turn things around on the defensive side of the ball. And guys like Joey Calcaterra and guys like Alex Caravan need to hit their shots, especially in this game. But if they want to make a run, those guys have to hit their shots. And, you know, we have them winning this game and going up against VCU. And, you know, obviously we'll get to that game. But you could argue that they have a pretty easy path through March Madness.
I agree.
I'm going UConn too, and like you said, Griff, those games where you lose in those tough matchups, UConn's been losing in tough matchups throughout the whole season. They've had a bunch of games where they've been great. They have a bunch of games where they haven't looked too great, and I feel like and they've stayed around. Obviously, they dropped from the number one seed in the nation to around middle of the pack here, and like they've been flowing around.
Finished the season as the 10 seed, which is impressive. The way that they got back in there.
Which is a reason for them for me to believe that they can kind of take a hard game and turn it around and make a little bit of a run. So I'm taking UConn.
Definitely.
All right. Next, we have TCU versus either Arizona State or Nevada. In my opinion, I think Arizona State will win that game with the matchups of 11s. That game is happening on Wednesday night, right?
Tonight.
Really? Is it tonight?
There's 2 games tonight. I actually don't know. I actually just said that. I can look.
No, you're right. No, it's Wednesday night. It's Wednesday night that's
tonight is
Mississippi State and Pitt, and Southeast Missouri State
and Samo and Corpus Christi. Yeah. Okay. Yep. And the NIT starts today.
But give me TCU against either of these teams.
Yeah. Agreed. You said you had who'd you say have winning the 11?
Oh, Arizona State.
Arizona State. Okay, I agree with you there. And then I have Tennessee beating Arizona State.
TCU.
Yeah, that's what I meant. TCU. Yeah. TCU beating Arizona State.
Unless you had them in the national champion. Tennessee.
Oh, I'm sorry. TCU, Tennessee. It's early. I just woke up and we're in the middle of a snowstorm. So I have excuses.
The Horned Frogs. It's always been them.
Yeah. All right, Gonzaga, Grand Canyon. Give me Gonzaga. I'm sorry. There's no way.
Yeah. I want to take TCU, but yeah. They lost to Nevada by 13. We have Nevada not even making it out of the last 4 in. So I don't know. Gonzaga. Gonzaga sucks though.
Last of the round of 64, we have Northwestern and I'm sorry, the last 2. I don't know why I said the last. Jumping ahead. But Northwestern and Boise State 7-10. Give me Northwestern.
I'm going to take Boise State. I had to say it before you said anything, Will, because I needed to get – if I have somebody else, then we need to get a deciding factor.
It's like – give me Boise State. I know they've lost a few games going into the tournament, but they've been pretty good.
And I do want to say, if we're looking at it in an analytical approach, because I am the analytical guy on our college basketball section, I think it's a very good move to have in our 7-10 matchups have 2 7 seeds advance and have 2 10 seeds advance, and that's exactly what we have through the round of 64.
We're opening up for opportunity, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't pick Boise State just because of that. I picked Boise State because I actually think Northwestern is terrible. and I think that they're trash, and I think that they're only a 7 seed because of the conference that they play in. And, they beat Purdue, and Purdue was the worst 1 seed that I've ever seen in my life,
What about
other
Houston?
than Virginia that year.
What about Houston this year?
I actually like Houston more than Purdue this year.
Wow.
Yeah, I think Purdue is fraudulent. I think that they're super fraudulent.
I agree, but I just know that you hate Houston, so I was curious to see.
Hate Houston. I have maybe both of these teams losing in the round of 32, if not in the Sweet 16. So, but yeah, I actually very much so like Boise State. I think Boise State is overall in every single aspect other than defensive rebounding, they are better than Northwestern. Northwestern is just there because of the conference that they play in and because they have a good record, but their good record comes from their out-of-conference schedule. And when you have a good out-of-conference record, a bad in-conference record, what does that mean for your ball team? That means you guys are frauds. Bring me to the round of 32, Stavros.
Round of 32. Now, do we want to – or we have UCLA and UNC – no, it's UCLA.
Yeah.
My fault. Now, do we want to start in the Western region and work our way back, or do we want to start?
I want to bring us back up. I want to bring us back up to the South. Yep,
okay.
To the South.
All right. So, starting with Alabama and West Virginia, this is another one where I have Alabama going very deep, and they're not losing to West Virginia. This is the best team in the nation, in my opinion. They were ranked at the end of the season as the best team in the nation. So, give me Alabama.
Bama. Definitely.
Bama.
All right. Next, we have San Diego State and Virginia. This is a 5-4 matchup. Teams in the Mountain West don't make it deep, as I've said. And I will fall for it again. I have San Diego State here. I don't think Virginia's offense can catapult them over what San Diego State's defense is. San Diego State was one of the top-ranked defenses in the entire nation, and they score what they're very deep, they're very consistent, and they're very balanced. And I think that's the recipe to beat Virginia. And if you stay calm, and if you get out to a lead on Virginia, Virginia will not come back. Give me SDSU.
Yeah, definitely. And Virginia all year have struggled against teams that can match their defensive intensity. And look who they draw in the round of 32, a team that's, maybe the most comparable to this team, in my opinion, at least, in San Diego State. And I think that San Diego State performs a bit better under pressure than the boys do down in Virginia. So I'm going to go SDSU as well. And you're right about teams in that conference. They aren't keen to make big runs. But how about win a couple games in the tournament? It's about time. Last year, this conference had 4 teams in the tournament. They all lost in the first round. They're bound to win a couple of games this year.
Agreed. I'm also going SDSU. Virginia just struggles offensively with consistency. SDSU.
All right. Next, we have Creighton, UCSB. I have UCSB.
I do too. This is my Sweet 16 run team. This is I think in all of my brackets that I've made so far, I have the Lobos in the Sweet 16. So I can't. And I also think that Creighton is stuff. We talk about it. They're on like that every other game where it's like, good game, bad game, good game, bad game. The last game they played against Xavier was a bad game. The next game, NC State, good game. The game after that, UC Santa Barbara, bad game. Give me UC Santa Barbara. Love it. I love it. Creighton is fraudulent. Super fraudulent.
Define fraudulent, though. They're 6th seed and they didn't win.
Fraudulent is just mean I don't believe you. I don't believe in you. I don't believe in this ball club at all. And it relates directly back to my point, Sav. Would you rather be a Musketeer or a Blue Jay that night?
Exactly. Yeah. That's a great point. And this just proves that we don't have Big East bias.
No, we have a Big East I actually have like the opposite of Big East bias with Creighton. I actually hate Creighton this year.
All right. Next, we have Utah State and Arizona, a 10-2 matchup. Somebody else take the first one.
I will. Arizona. Utah State, gonna win a tough one against Missouri, in my opinion, and that's gonna set them back a lot. Arizona has a layup. Arizona's still healthy, the best team in the Pac-12 as of right now. If you include health, I have Arizona as that one Pac-12 team that makes a run this year because there's only one every year, and Arizona's that team. I have Arizona beating Utah State.
I'm with you on that one. Utah State, obviously, if we have them upsetting Missouri in the first round, they're going to be playing in a tough game. Arizona has Princeton. That's an easy matchup for them. It should be an easy matchup for them against Utah State. I think they have this all the way.
Let it be known that I have Utah State in this game. Let the record show that Stavros is taking Utah State, but the pod takes Arizona. 2 beats 1. So Arizona is advancing to the Sweet 16. And that wraps up the South for the round of 32. Let's move on to Purdue versus FAU. Give me FAU. I don't care about Purdue. And I think for the first time in his entire career, Zach Edey's going to be officiated correctly in this game. And if you get up on Purdue, they cannot come back. They play way too slow of a style of offense. Zach Edey just stays in the paint, camps out, and gets through. He should get called for a violation every single time that he's on offense. He travels every time he touches the ball. This game's going to be officiated correctly. He will not know how to play. Give me FAU. You're muted.
Stop. What did I say like 5 minutes ago about this Purdue team?
That you hated him.
It's the worst one seed. Give me FAU. Give me FAU. I love FAU in this matchup. And you're exactly right. You look at these two teams and you ask yourself, where does Purdue have their advantages? And their advantages is Zach Edey. March Madness is a whole different beast. And last year, Zach Edey put up an absolute shitter in March Madness. Now he's 29 years old, or however old he is. He is old as hell. FAU is going to outrun Purdue. They're going to out-hustle Purdue, and they're going to out-heart Purdue in this game. So how about a little 9 seed in the Sweet 16 here in the East region? Also opens up the floor for this next matchup to pretty much have their automatic bid into the Elite Eight.
Yeah.
I don't like Purdue anyway, so FAU.
I hate Purdue.
Right.
I hate Purdue.
Yeah.
I hate Purdue.
All right, next we have a 5-4 matchup. This is going to be a very good game as well, if obviously it happens. We have Duke and Tennessee. Will, what do you have?
I'm going to take Tennessee. I think they get the best of them this game. It might be a little biased here, but I think they get the best of them this game. I think Duke comes off of a win against Oral Roberts. They think they're on top right now. They have the path. Tennessee they have a good game against Louisiana, and they come in and they strike Duke when they think they're hot, and they find them in a tough predicament. I think Tennessee takes them here.
All right, stop. I'm going to set you up here because I have Duke. I love Duke in this game, the hottest team in college basketball right now. You look at Tennessee and you think of guys like Kai Ziegler, right, who, in my opinion, Duke matches up perfectly against. And then you think of Sam Vescovi, who, in my opinion, is a guy that is way too overhyped in college basketball. And I actually think he puts up an absolute shitter in this game, maybe drops 8-9 points in this game because he is one of those guys that crumbles under pressure. I think that Duke is well coached in John Shire's first year, and I think they're keen to make a big run with this team because they are heating up at the right time. They have Filipowski, who's their scorer. They have a big and they have a guard. And Tennessee, in my opinion, does not match up well against them at all. I think Duke outruns them, outdefends them, and also outshoots them.
So it's up to me.
Send you up difficult here, Stav.
And I'm going Duke. Everything you just said, I can't disagree with, right? And I don't like Duke. I think that's
I'm a UNC fan, so
we don't like Duke, and they're just playing great basketball at the right time. And it would low-key be funny if they made a run with Shire as the head coach and won it after Coach K leaves.
I think I would like. I actually think I would like that a lot because my whole life has been committed to Coach K not being a good coach, good recruiter. He's a good recruiter. Yeah. He's never been a good coach. Duke doesn't You know what? Never mind. I was gonna go on a whole Coach K tangent, but he's gone. He's gone, and we put him to bed last year.
Yep. Give
Funny
us two
Cancun.
in the Sweet 16. Now let's wrap up the East region. Griff, Kentucky, Kansas State.
This is gonna be a good game. This is gonna be a good game, and I have K-State, coming out on top. K-State, who they started the year a little slow. They had a very tough out-of-conference schedule, and then they start in the conference. They heat up a little bit. Kentucky, who got in as the 6th seed, I think is gonna have a pretty tough game against Providence, but still obviously win. I'm gonna go K-State in this game, though. How about Kentucky versus Kansas State? This is gonna be a great game. But
It's kind of funny.
I gotta go K-State.
When I threw that lob to for this game, it just slipped my mind that Kansas State is the 3 seed and Kentucky's the 6 seed. And I feel like for all of our lives, that would have been reversed. But
yeah, definitely. I
Will,
feel
what
like
do you
K-State is like a perennial 6 seed.
Yes. Will, what do you have? Kentucky 6 versus Kansas State 3.
I'm going Kansas State.
Yeah, clean sweep.
Yep.
Clean
Love it.
sweep. And now, Griff, I want to hear you here with the 7 versus 2, Michigan State versus Marquette. Our Marquette Golden Eagles.
Our Marquette Golden Eagles are going to be continuing dancing into the Sweet 16. Shaka Smart, this is the year he was chosen for this. This is Shaka Smart, the best 6 man in the nation. You think of teams that Shaka Smart has built. How about we look at the Texas team on the other side of the bracket, because he built that whole team. And then I think that this is Shaka Smart's best squad since his Wichita State days. And I think that means a lot. I think he beats Tom Izzo. I think that's a big personal achievement for him. And I have Marquette beating Michigan State in this game.
I mean, I'll ride with you. I can't go against Marquette, right? Marquette, they had such a good tournament. And looking ahead, though, I am a little nervous after this round. Just a little.
Agreed.
We'll go from there. Will, what do you have? Marquette, Kansas State.
Marquette, easily.
Yeah. Definitely.
Okay. All right, now to the other side of the bracket. We're going to the Midwest region. We have Houston versus Iowa. Give me Iowa. Fuck Houston. They're trash. They're not a 1 seed. What do they see that I don't see with this Houston team? Everyone is not. We're a family-friendly show. Everyone loves Houston. I don't. I like Iowa here.
Good save, man. We have do's and don'ts on this podcast. That was definitely one of the don'ts. So that was a good.
Yep.
I knew exactly what you were gonna say. That was a very good save. But you're right. Iowa basketball, a family company. Give me Iowa in this game. Houston fraudulent. Oh, Houston plays defense. Yeah, Houston plays defense against Temple. Against Memphis.
Not even.
I'm sorry that Penny Hardaway is trying to run a 17U AAU program in the American Conference. And they're the best team that Houston plays all year. They're not even a basketball team. And in my opinion, Houston isn't a basketball team either. People say it's written in the stars the Final Four is in Houston. Wouldn't it be great if they were in the Final Four? Yeah, but they won't be. They're losing in the second round this year. And I actually think that this is one of my most confident picks in this whole tournament. I have Houston, even if they play Auburn, hell, they could play fucking Kennesaw State in the second round, and I have Houston losing this game.
They lost in the AACC champ. They lost in the their.
It's how do you do that as a number 1 seed? How do you do this as a number 1 seed?
The best team in the country. They were the best team in the country forever. And then they tried to make an argument for putting them over Kansas by their quality wins. Houston's quality wins, who are St. Mary's, Virginia, when they were the 6th seed in the country, when they lost to UNC in the same month span. Oregon is one of their quality wins as well. Those are their quality wins. That's it. And they rank them above Kansas for that reason. Makes no sense.
Oregon's not in the tournament.
Iowa. Yeah.
Iowa going. I'm done wasting my breath on Houston.
Yeah. Definitely. So we have Iowa advancing to the Sweet 16. Will, give me your prediction for Miami and Indiana, a 5-4 matchup, 2 teams that we spoke very highly of in the round of 64.
Yes.
both teams obviously very, very good. Miami having a good season. Indiana coming up in clutch games. I'm going to take Indiana here. I'm going to take Indiana here. I'm not the biggest fan of them, but they're just so good. They've been playing really good. They've been hot. I'm taking Indiana.
Oh, this is a tough matchup, huh? I love Trace Jackson Davis. I love the things that the Hoosiers are doing this year. Feed me Miami in this game. I like Miami stuff. I'll set you up for a little deciding factor. I love the guard play for Miami. Isaiah Wong has been doing it for years now in Miami. Years. He's been on Miami for as long as LeBron's been in the NBA.
Pretty much.
But give me Miami. I'll take Miami here. I think that their guards match up a lot better against Indiana than Indiana's bigs match up against Miami. Indiana's strong suit is their bigs. Miami's strong suit is their guards. I like Miami's guards better than I like Indiana's bigs.
I'm the tiebreaker here. Miami's such a good, they're such a well-coached team with Larinaga. Isaiah Wong, just a veteran guard at this point. He's playing on a vet minimum, it seems. He's been in college longer than the NIL has. He's been in college longer than we have. He's been in college for as long as since our freshman year of high school, it feels like, and we're now juniors in college. Give me Miami. The veteran presence in that locker room will be the deciding factor, and they're a very well coached team, deep team. They're where they were for a reason. All right, next matchup we have Pitt and Xavier, the 11 versus 3. Griff, don't break my heart here. Okay, thank you.
Zip them up. Xavier, would you rather be a musketeer or a blue jay? I don't know. I've been shitting on Creighton this whole time. They have nothing to do with Xavier at this point in the season. But yeah, give me Xavier. We have Pitt in this next round, but when you get to those last 4 in games and you give those teams, an entrance into the round of 32, but you still genuinely don't actually know who's playing in that game, it's hard to grant them into the Sweet 16.
You're muted.
Said agreed. I obviously we don't even know who's playing. Hypothetically, we said Pitt's here. We don't even know. It could be literally the other team. I'm going Xavier.
Mm-hmm. And I think Xavier matches up great against Pitt.
I agree with that too. I just don't see Xavier losing this early on either. They're a good team.
All right, next we have Texas A&M and Texas, the Battle of Texas. This is a 7 versus 2 matchup. Texas, one of the better teams in the country, won the Big 12, right?
Yeah,
I'm not sure. Yeah, they won the Big 12. That's why they are where they are.
Mm-hmm.
Will, what do you have? Take it from me.
Stav doesn't know what he has.
This is actually a really tough matchup.
I know what I have. Do you want me to take it?
No, I want to take this. I'm going to go. Okay. I'm going to go with the numbers here. I'm going to take Texas here. They're 69% all time, the 2 seed over the 7 seed. So I'm going with my numbers here. I'm taking it all the way. Going Texas.
I could see Texas winning the whole goddamn thing. I could see them winning the whole goddamn tournament. I think they glide by Texas A&M. I think just the fact that they're playing another team from Texas is just and automatically who's going to outman the other team. And I think it's the Longhorns. I mean, they won the Big 12, who people are saying is the second best conference in the nation behind the SEC. If you ask me, the Big East tops them all. But with that being said, you win the Big 12 and you beat a team like Kansas. How are you going to lose to Texas A&M in this matchup at such a crucial time in the season? Obviously, with every game being win or go home. I have to take Texas in this game. And stop. I'm setting you up perfectly to just say that you can take Texas A&M, and just in case it happens.
I was going to take Texas A&M here. They're primed to upset better teams, right? We saw them beat Alabama when Alabama was at the peak of their run. and that would be my justification for taking Texas A&M. I was really split on this one though, and I think that there's a lot of pride that goes into this game.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
yeah,
They did kill Alabama. Usually Alabama's used to doing that, but they did kill Alabama in that game.
Yeah, they literally texted him that the gun was hot and still beat him, and which was crazy. But Texas, yeah, we got Texas moving on here. Next, Kansas and Illinois.
Forgot about the West. I forgot about. I thought I was ready to go to the Sweet 16. I forgot about the West.
Yeah, this is just kind of a weird, not a weird conference, but I was big on Kansas last year, right? I picked them to win it all, and they did. That was probably my most profitable March Madness. Give me Kansas again, but I'm skeptical.
Yeah, I agree with you, Stav, because I think that I feel like I've said this a few times, but you give me another 8 or 9 seed like a Iowa, a Auburn, or even a West Virginia, I would talk differently about this game. But I think that when you look at Kansas, who do you think of, Stav? You think of Jalen Wilson, right? He's the best player on that team, one of the best players in the country. I think that this is the perfect matchup for him. I don't know who's going to be guarding him because, Illinois has Kofi Coburn, who is, once again, one of the oldest people in college basketball. And they also have Matthew Mayer, who, remember him from Baylor with the mullet, the white dude. And those are their two bigs. So Jalen Wilson is going to outpace them. He's going to beat them to the rim. And I could see him easily dropping 30 points in this game and them advancing on to the Sweet 16.
As good as a defensive team the Illini are, I just don't see them as a team knocking out Kansas. I'm going to go Kansas.
Yeah, I was also going Kansas. It's not I don't want to say it's a no-brainer, but when in doubt, pick the 1 seed, right?
Definitely.
All right, next we have VCU and UConn. Will, what do you have?
Oh no. I'm gonna go UConn. I'll go UConn. I have no other words.
Yeah, I'm also going UConn.
Okay, I'm also going UConn.
No
right. Yeah, I mean,
it's one of those moments you just
VCU lost to Memphis by 15. So
yeah,
if you lose to Memphis, you lose to UConn.
Yeah. All right. Next, we have TCU and Gonzaga. Gonzaga as a 3 seed is kind of, I don't want to say weird to me, but there's no pressure on them whatsoever to perform. And they're set to make a run. And if they don't make a run, no one will really care. That's been kind of opposite of what we've seen from them in the past few years when they've been the 1 seed and everyone eyes are on them. Everyone wants them to lose. This is a veteran team. Another guy, Drew Timme, who's been in college forever. I like Gonzaga here as a 3 seed against TCU.
I have some numbers for this matchup. If you guys don't remember what I said for Baylor, remember how I said there's 4 teams that meet this criteria, being top 6 in your region, top 25 raw offense in KenPom, and outside the top 150 in raw defense in KenPom. None of these teams have ever, there's been 22 of those teams that meet this since the year 2000. None of them have made the Final Four. Only one of them have made the Elite 8. And I know we're talking about round 32, but historically these teams, 16 of them specifically, have not made it out of the round of 32. Gonzaga cannot play defense to save their lives. TCU only a 6 seed because of the conference that they play in. I think that TCU had a fantastic season, and at moments, throughout the season, we were talking about them being a top 10 team in the country. I have them beating Gonzaga in this game, and the numbers don't lie.
I'm glad you said that because I was taking TCU all the way. I've loved TCU all season. They've been playing great basketball. Frankly, I think Gonzaga as a 3rd seed, I think it's irrelevant for them. I think TCU has this in the bag all day.
And also, I mentioned there was 4 teams that meet this criteria this year. 2 of those teams that the other 2 of those teams that have not, we have not eliminated them yet. And those teams, I'll tell you right now, are Miami and zip them up Xavier. So just watch out for them when we're looking at the Sweet 16, okay?
So you both had TCU, correct?
Yes.
All
TCU.
right,
Yep.
TCU is advanced.
I actually, stop. I'm sorry for fading you in this game, but I actually love TCU in this game without the numbers. Throw away the numbers, throw away everything. I think that the Horned Frogs are a better and better coached program than Gonzaga. Mark Few, get out of the Western Coast Conference, join the Pac-12, join the Big 12. You consider yourself a top dog of blue blood. You're not. You're not until you join a Power 5 conference. You're frauds.
All right. Wrapping up the Western region, we have Boise State and UCLA. I like UCLA here, although they have been battling some injuries. Give me UCLA.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
All right. Now, going all the way back up to the South region, we have Alabama and San Diego State. Griff, who do you have?
Bama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bama. I actually don't even think I have to explain myself here.
Yeah, there's not much to explain. All right. Now, moving on in the Southern region, we have UCSB facing Arizona. UCSB being a 14th seed. Will, do they continue their Cinderella run in the South?
Sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll take them.
I'm not going to take them. I think that this is like
I'll take them.
You know, we were looking at how far St. Peter's made it to the Elite Eight, right?
Yes.
Last year.
Yeah.
And I compared this team to St. Peter's. But I'm going to go with Arizona in this game. I think no matter what, the winner of this game loses the next game. But I think that Arizona, I like the way that they played in the Pac-12 tournament. And stop. Remember the night we were pretty down bad. We were on the train at like 11:25. I was like, oh shit, Arizona plays at 11:30. Hammer it. Fuck it.
Yep.
I mean, whoa, screw it. Give me Arizona. Give me the Wildcats. Just give me the Wildcats. I've talked highly on the Lobos throughout this episode, but I'm gonna go Wildcats here.
Yeah, I'm also going Arizona.
But we do have Will on record for saying UCSB takes it.
Yep. And
my thought process is behind that. One is if I also think the team that wins this game is going to lose in the next round, so I'd rather get the points from the upset.
Okay.
Like I'd rather.
I like that thought process.
Fair. All right. Next, that wraps up the South in the Sweet 16. Let's move on to the East with our first matchup of FAU and Duke. Will, who do you have?
I'm gonna take Duke here. I don't want to, but
This is the first time that Will has taken Duke in this episode.
I hate Duke so much.
I hate Duke a lot too, but Duke is winning this game.
Yeah.
And I actually think that this will be the largest margin of victory for Duke between their game against Oral Roberts and their game against Tennessee, how we have it slated. I think that their game against FAU is more of a blowout than either of those two games that they have to face before.
Mm-hmm. All right. Last game in the East, we have Kansas State and Marquette. This is our only – no, I take that back. Never mind.
No, we have another 2-3.
Yeah, we haven't – yeah, ignore what I said. We have Kansas State and Marquette. Give me Marquette. Give me the Golden Eagles.
Give me the Golden Eagles.
Yeah.
Simple. K-State, good program, though. K-State, very good program. Fell off at the end of the season.
Great year for them.
Great year for them. Sorry, I had to come to an end in the Sweet 16. But I mean, hey, would you chalk up the Sweet 16? This is gonna be a long episode, by the way, but we're in for that. Would you chalk up a Sweet 16 loss to Marquette as a successful season for K-State?
In Kansas State, if I'm a Kansas State
in Kansas State's eyes, if you're a K-State fan,
yes, just because of I don't know. No, I'm gonna say no, just because they had a good year and they could have.
I would say Elite Eight is that
yes.
tipping point.
If they could
beat the 2 seed.
Yes. If they beat Marquette, it is a very successful season.
Yes.
Agreed. I think it also depends on the fashion in which they lose this game, and if obviously they lose this game, if they lose this game and they just get like killed, I feel like you can count that as kind of a win because they just never had it to begin with, and they had a good season. Marquette's the better team, obviously, but if it's a close game and they can't pull out like a last shot or they mess up defensively towards the end of the game, then it's like you could have
It'll
had
leave
it.
a little bad taste in their mouth. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. That wraps up the East. Let's move on to the Midwest with Iowa and Miami.
I'll take it. Feed me Miami. Feed me the Hurricanes. Iowa basketball, a family company. That's the last time I can say that on this episode. And that's a career high for me. 3 times that I mentioned Iowa basketball as a family company on this podcast episode. But yeah, that comes to an end. I actually have Miami advancing to the Elite Eight due to the fact that they have like 17 fifth year, 6th year, and 1 8th year senior in Isaiah Long.
I'm going Miami. I know I picked Indiana, but I would have picked either one to advance over Iowa. So
Okay. Yeah, that's a clean sweep for the pod. Moving on. We have Xavier and Texas, another 3-2 matchup. And I'm sorry, Damian Lillard, but I'm going Texas here.
Yeah, this is the end of Sully Bohm's run. It's the Longhorns. In Texas is, in my opinion, maybe the most slept on team in this tournament. I genuinely think that they could win the whole goddamn thing. And I know I said it in the last round too. I think that they can win this tournament. And I have them making a deep, deep run in almost all of my brackets, which probably isn't a good idea, but I genuinely believe in this team. Make it a sweep, Will. Make it a sweep.
Yeah. All right. Glad it was a clean. That's Midwest is a clean sweep for the Sweet 16. Moving on to the Western region, we have Kansas and UConn. Will, who do you have?
UConn.
Yeah, I against UConn, and especially just because of how bad, like, Grady Dick's been playing terrible. Second half of the year, he's been awful. And we talked about this in prior episodes too, and just in general, I can't take them to go far unless he picks it up.
I think the setup for Kansas is just setting them up for failure to lose against UConn. I think the Illini are going to give them a tough game before they play UConn in the Sweet 16, and UConn's going to take very much advantage of that, hit them down when they're weak, and take this game easily.
And you know what? If you're looking at the Midwest and you're looking at different teams in the 2 seed in UCLA, in the 3 seed in Gonzaga, and you're looking about, okay, we don't think Kansas is going to make that deep of a run, right? Who would they lose to in the West? I think the best team for that situation is the UConn Huskies. I think that they have enough defense where if they can, actually figure out that 2-3 zone stuff like they did at the end of the second half of that Marquette game, that would be the perfect defense to run against Kansas because of Grady Dick. Grady Dick does not move off ball. You know exactly where he's going to be at all times when he's on the court because he's going to be very stagnant. And then you just have to worry about the ISO ball that they play with Jalen Wilson. And the 2-3 defense is the perfect defense to play against an ISO ball team. So I think that UConn is setting themselves up perfectly to beat Kansas in this game. I have this as one of those games where Donovan Clingan comes off the bench and grabs 10 boards. And, I think that the bigs from UConn really control the paint, and that's going to help a lot because, once again, Jalen Wilson is a guy that likes to get down low, likes to get dirty, and I think that UConn has the size to combat him. The thing that I'm nervous about is UConn's speed with their size. And that's when the guards are going to have to come to play, and specifically Jordan Hawkins, who underperformed in the Big East tournament, specifically in the semifinal. He's looking for revenge.
Yeah, I like UConn too, as I said. That's a clean sweep against the 1 seed, which is not surprising, but hey, that's something. We're not biased against the Big East or anything. But all right, next, the last game of the West, last game of the Sweet 16, we have TCU and UCLA. Now, I think that you guys aren't going to have the same pick as I do, but I have TCU in this game.
Oh, well, it looks like I have the same pick as you.
Oh, looks like we're clean sweeping that one. I love TCU in this game.
Love
I absolutely
TCU in
love
this
them.
game.
My intention
Love
for that
TCU in this
was for
game.
the next person to take UCLA, and then there'd be a tiebreaker, but it's just another clean sweep.
I love TCU in this game.
Is that a clean sweep in the Sweet 16 besides UCSB?
Yeah. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking. Yes, it is. It is, which is awesome.
Interesting. All right. We're in the Elite Eight now, boys. And now let's just recap who we have in the Elite Eight just for the viewer purposes to catch back up. We have Alabama versus Arizona in the South. We have Duke and Marquette in the East. We have Miami and Texas in the Midwest. We have UConn and TCU in the West. Let's start with the South as we've done. Who's going to the Final Four? Will Alabama or Arizona?
Alabama. Never a doubt in my mind.
No, zero doubt in my mind. And I think we all know where Alabama is going in this tournament. And we haven't even really had to talk about this team yet. Like that's like it's been, they played we have them against West Virginia. We just say, all right, Bama on to the next one. Bama on to the next one. Same here, same thing against Arizona. They play in the Pac-12. And when you play against the best team in the country and you have to play against Pac-12 opponents the whole year, playing against Oregon and Oregon State does not set you up for success going up against Bama.
I think this is their easiest game since the first round.
I actually like that take. A lot. I think Arizona sucks.
Yeah, I think they're so bad.
All right, I have Alabama. Obviously, it's a clean sweep. Let's move on to the East. Who's making it to the Final Four between Duke and Marquette? Griff.
The Duke Blue Devils are making it, in my opinion, to the Final Four. And I have this as being like I think Marquette is perfectly setting themselves up for like a very, very disappointing end to their season. And if you want to know where this game is being played, Madison Square Garden. Ooh. So what better opportunity to lose a game in the same stadium that you lost or that you won a conference tournament in? I think it's just like the stars are aligning too perfectly for Marquette. And Duke, the big bad Blue Devils, are setting themselves up for a little upset right here. And I like Duke to make the Final Four. I don't know if you guys are going to agree with me. And we might have Marquette moving on to the next round as a podcast. But I do like Duke in this game.
Yeah, I'm also taking Duke. I think that the size of Duke is going to be way too much for Marquette to handle. If
they just have too many NBA players on their team.
Yeah.
Marquette, in my opinion, doesn't have any.
Yeah, they're a well-coached team, obviously, with Marquette. They're fun to watch. They win close games, but I think Duke's going to be too much for Marquette to handle, especially with the size down low.
I'm also going to take Duke.
All right, clean sweep again. Now, let's go to the Midwest region between Miami and Texas. Will, who do you have?
Texas. All day.
I'm going Miami. I like Miami here. I like Miami. I like how well they're coached. And ever since that Florida State loss, they've kind of just flipped something else. And I think that they're a good team. And I think that they're primed to beat Texas. Texas is due for a letdown.
Stav, and I'm glad you took that. I'm glad to be the deciding factor here. Last year, Villanova beat Houston in the Elite Eight to become the first number 2 seed to actually beat a 5 seed in the Sweet 16, which is crazy because the last 5 of 6 matchups, the 5 seed has beat the 2 seed when they have met. Last year was the first time that streak was broken. And you know what? I told you guys I have Texas winning the national championship in one of my brackets. And I don't know, today I woke up and yeah, you know what? Give me Texas. Why? I'm going to go Texas here. And a large reason for that is because there hasn't been a national championship in like the past 15 or 16 years or a Final Four, excuse me, in the last 15 or 16 years where there hasn't been at least 2 1 or 2 seeds. So we need to have at least 1-1 and at least 1-2. And that's just the way it goes if you want to take an analytical approach. So I'll have Texas advancing.
All right, next we have the UConn Huskies facing the TCU Horned Frogs. TCU, as of late in just college sports in general, has been on a tear, but they come up short, right? So give me my UConn Huskies advancing to the Final Four.
Agreed. And I right at the beginning when I saw UConn's like lookout throughout the tournament on Sunday, when we first saw it, I was like, this team is in the perfect position to make a Final Four run after a disappointing loss in the Big East tournament semifinal. I like them a lot to beat TCU in this game.
I'm taking UConn.
Yeah,
I'm taking UConn as well. But in a few of my brackets, I do plan on putting TCU in my Final Four.
All right, boys, it's Final Four time. We're hour and 22 minutes into this. This is what March Madness is about, right? Going through, breaking down each matchup, talking about pros and cons of each team, and now we're down to the Final Four, right? In the left side of the bracket, we have Alabama and Duke. And in the right side of the bracket, we have Texas and UConn.
I love it. I actually love this Final Four.
Yeah, this is a great Final Four. We have a 1 seed, we have a 2 seed, we have a 4 seed, and we have a 5 seed. So all we're missing is the 3. It could have been in numerical order, but who cares with the 3 seeds? We'll start with the left side, as we've been doing. Alabama and Duke. Now, we have yet to talk about Alabama, like you said, right? We've just cruised through. They've cruised through, in our opinions, up to this point. And that's not a good thing for the Crimson Tide. Give me the Duke Blue Devils going to the national championship. Although Alabama is the best team in the nation, that's a fact. When was the last time that Alabama made a run in the tournament up to this stature? And
never.
Duke is going to be the best team that they see in the tournament, and they're in for a rude awakening, right? Like, this Duke Blue Devils team is the hottest team in college basketball for a reason. They steamrolled through the ACC, and a justification that I'm saying Duke is way too big for Alabama. Alabama struggles when teams can get into the paint and when they can shoot the 3 ball. They can shoot the 3 ball with their bigs. So it's going to be hard for Alabama. Brandon Miller's a stud. He's an excellent player. He's awesome to watch.
NBA player.
Yeah. It's just, I think that Duke is too much for them. And I think that Duke's a very well-coached team, and I think that they have the ability. They have a lot behind them to make a championship run, and I think that they will beat Alabama.
You know, this is a tough time to be on a podcast with 2 UNC fans, Stav, and, you know, everybody's going to have Alabama winning the national championship. Everybody. Every single person and their mother. My guess is over 60% of brackets will have Alabama winning the national championship, right? And they are the number 1 team in the country. And obviously they're a 1 seed coming out of the out of the southern region. This is such a difficult game to pick. And Will, who are you taking?
Okay, I have like 2 different reasons for how I set this up. So I picked Duke over Marquette because I think Alabama's going to dismantle them in the Final Four in front of everyone. I mean, I know Duke is they play hard. They're a good team, and like that takes a lot for me to say as a UNC fan. Like, and I recognize that. Like, I have to sit here and analyze this game as best as I can and try to be not biased here because I am a UNC fan, but I genuinely think Alabama is going to dismantle them. I think Duke, their path up here, yes, they do have some challenging matchups, but I mean, they don't really play anyone until we have them playing against like Marquette. Like, obviously, like we have Tennessee playing them in the second round, and then they play FAU in the Sweet 16, and then they play Marquette in the Elite Eight. When they go up to go play Alabama, they're playing a very, very strong Alabama team. Like this is the team that everyone thinks is going to make the national championship game. As a 5 seed, like, yes, it's possible. Like, I do think there's a chance that they could win this game. I'm not going to rule them out, but I really think Alabama is going in with the mindset is this is their time because they haven't done this before. They can't lose this opportunity just to a 5 seed.
Yeah, you're right. And I'm gonna take this looking at the both ways that you guys have talked about it as Stav. I agree with you to your point where you think Duke is Alabama's toughest matchup. And I also think that out of every single team in college basketball, if there was a team to beat Alabama at this point in time, it would be the Duke Blue Devils. But you know what I've been saying the whole time, and this goes back to Will's side as well, playing a little devil's advocate on both of you. Duke has been the hottest team in college basketball for a few weeks now. Winning the ACC is big for them. If I were to look at once again the tournament, the whole bracket, and I'm saying what is one team that truly matches up against Duke, not only from 1 through 5, but also through from 6, 7, and Duke doesn't really run that deep, but guess who does? The Alabama Crimson Tide. And I'm going to take Alabama in this game strictly because of how deep it is into the tournament at this time, with it being, the beginning of April at this point in time. Alabama has a deeper bench than Duke does. Duke never runs, more than 9 men, and honestly more than 8, really. Whereas Alabama runs 9, they get 10 out there sometimes, and it's even if Alabama shortens up that bench, Duke's going to shorten up that bench to around 6 people because, that's what they did last year. They don't really have anybody else off the bench. It's going to come down to fatigue, and I think Alabama, we talk about Brandon Miller. We talk about these different guys, and if you want to look at the bench, I couldn't name you a single guy coming off of Duke's bench. But I think a big factor in this game coming off the bench for Alabama is going to be Javon Quinterly, and he's a guy that can make or break a tournament for this team. He's the 6th man of this team. He's the heart and soul, in my opinion, of this team. And he at the point guard position, he does his role. He gets to the rim so effectively. I don't know if you guys remember the Jelly Fam movement in all the high schoolers with doing jelly when jelly started. This was the originator of the Jelly Fam movement. Jelly Fam JQ, Javon Quinterly. He gets to the bucket with ease. He knows how to manipulate his layups, puts a little bit of English on it. But the thing that kid has been doing, to my point, is he's getting down low, right? And people think he's going up because, he's nationally known for what he does with the ball in his hands. He's been able to dump that ball off to the bigs and give them wide open looks when he's in the game. And I think to that point, that is going to absolutely mentally screw with the bigs from Duke because they're so block heavy. They look for their blocks. They're hunting for blocks. And Will, you remember the game against UNC when we needed that win. The Duke center had 7 blocks in that game because Armando Bacot was just going up with it. They knew the answers. Alabama can shake up a game and can play differently every single game. And Duke is not good against that, as well as the fact that John Shire is a first-year coach. Having a first-year coach go to the national championship is something that I don't think has ever happened in college basketball history. And if it has, somebody can fact check me on.
Last year.
Who was it? Coach
UNC.
Hubert Davis. That's a whole different.
Yeah, but that's a different story.
That's with Armando Bacot, who's a junior, and Leaky Black, who was a junior at the time. Like they had the same team. Whereas you have someone like a Kyle Filipowski now on this team. You have different players on this team. First year coach with first year players. It's a bit different of a situation. I'm glad you called me out there, Will, because that was just me. Once UNC called out of the NIT, I just haven't even thought about that program at all because it's been a very upsetting run. But I this is a bit a long explanation from all of us, but I think that this is one of the best games that we could ever see in our lifetimes, and I'm gonna have to take Alabama in this game. Yeah, so I got them moving on to the national championship. That doesn't mean that we're gonna have them winning it though.
I think even Stoff's point where we were saying that it's Alabama's toughest game, I think it's also Duke's toughest game. I think it works both ways in this scenario.
Well, yeah. That
Well,
I agree.
obviously, but I'm saying like in terms of like their matchups that both teams have played, like it's going to be the hardest game.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. All right. Next, we have Texas and Yukon in the right side of the bracket. This is our Yukon Huskies. Or these are our Yukon Huskies, right? Against the Texas Longhorns. Um, I'm interested to hear what you have to say here, Griff.
The national championship has historically been a 1 versus a 2 seed. And, there's been a few times where that has not been the case. And looking at this UConn team, I have their ceiling as them cutting down the nets at the end of it. I genuinely believe that this is a team that can take that 2-point loss to Marquette and really change themselves from it. And once again, I love to talk about the benches of different teams. And I don't think Texas is really as deep as UConn when UConn is on. But with that being said, it's not a guarantee that UConn's bench is going to be on. And I'm specifically talking about Joey Calcaterra. He is going to be the make or break guy off the bench. And he's going to be a guy that needs to hit his shots. And throughout this tournament, I actually think that he will. I'm going to take UConn in this game. And I genuinely believe that not only could they beat Texas, I think that they could beat Duke. I think that they could beat Alabama. And, depending on what you guys take, it's going to be very, very difficult to pick a national champion right now, as it should be, because I do want to say, I should have prefaced the whole episode with this. This is, I feel like we say this every year, but in my opinion, if we're comparing it to last year, we're comparing it to the year before that, and even the year before that, I think that this is not only the most unpredictable bracket, but I think that this is the best bracket that we have seen in recent memory, where even in the first round and then you go on, continue, you're looking at these different possible matchups. And I mean, we could have, the game of the tournament be in the first round. And I'm not guaranteeing that that'll happen, but it's just the way that they set up this bracket was beautiful. Alabama should have an easy run. They're the number 1 seed, and that's why they kind of laid off, giving them Arizona the 2 seed and, giving the 3 seed up to Baylor in that as well. But with that being said, that kind of goes back to my point of this year being way more unpredictable. I'm going to go with the 4 seed UConn Huskies making a miracle run this year.
I'm with you. I it's tough because we're a Big East pod, right? And we might have some recency bias with UConn just based off of what we saw, what we've been watching all season, and how well they've played in big games, right? And that's no shade to Texas because it's the same exact thing with Texas,
Yes.
right? And they've had their controversy this year where with their coach and whatnot, and I just think that UConn is primed to make a run, right? And give me UConn here, and I'm trying to be without bias here. They beat a 1 seed in Kansas, who I think in general Kansas is better than Texas in my opinion, although Texas just beat them. So with that logic, I think that UConn can beat Texas. So give me UConn in the national championship game.
Who would you take in this game, Will?
So my thought process here, obviously, I said I was big on TCU if like I possibly have them going to the Final Four, but I also like UConn going to the Final Four, and I also like them going to the final. For multitude of different reasons, they have beat Alabama this year. They have the potential to beat big teams. They have the team that can do it all. They like earlier on in this episode, I said that they were a team. They started off very, very hot. They were number 1 ranked in the nation for a long period of time, and then they floated within the mid and then finished off at 10. They are a team that can beat a lot of teams. They are strong off the bench. They have guys. When this team is hot, they looked unstoppable. When they made that run midway through the season and they were on a tear, they looked like a national champion. They look like a team that could win the national championship, and I don't see why they can't even advance to the national championship. Like you said, Griff, like you said, their ceiling is cutting down the nets at the end of the season. I agree with you. This is a team that has the ability to make a run, and I'm not just saying that one because that is our technically. I would say that is the local team. That is our local team. Like as a
Yeah,
kid,
no,
it's always been UConn. It's never been anyone else. It's always been UConn, and obviously Texas is a good team. It's obviously statistically been a 1 versus a 2 seed, but I can see this is the year changing that narrative and having Alabama play 4 seeded UConn who could easily could beat them again. I
eh,
mean, obviously it's tough. This is a tough matchup because Texas is a very good team. The teams that are in the West are tough. These are all tough matchups.
yeah,
All
and
tough matchups for UConn.
looking at UConn as a 4 seed is a lot different than looking at them in the AP poll as the 10th team in the country.
Mhm.
They are in their rankings, respectively, the 10th best team in the nation. So it's really no shot in the dark to give them a bid to the national championship. I think that they if they beat Marquette, they could have beat Marquette by 1 point. They could have beat Marquette by 15 points. Um, they put themselves into the Eastern division in March Madness as that 2 seed, but with them losing, kind of knocks them down to the 4. But in my opinion, they have a lot easier of a road being that 4 seed coming out of the West compared to being that 2 seed in the East, which Marquette was, and obviously we had Marquette losing to Duke. It's a whole different story. And just how easy of a run, in my opinion, they have. They got to beat Patino, who is at Iona, who will be at St. John's next year. I think that's an easy game. And then we have them slated to play VCU. Even if they beat St. Mary's, I think that'll be a good test for them to beat them. And then they move on to Kansas. And if you can beat Kansas at this point, even though we've been absolutely destroying Kansas, if you can beat them, you can beat anybody in the country. And you go on maybe TCU, maybe UCLA, you could say it's an easy run. But, UConn, you look at them as a 4 seed, like I said, once again, and it's like, oh, you don't want to have a 4 seed in the national championship. You don't want to have a 4 seed winning the national championship, but you got to look at them as who they really are. And that's the 10th best team in the country. And we have seen worse teams, hold up that trophy at the end of the season. And Stav, I would love you to bring us into the national championship right here.
So, in our national championship, we have the number 1 seed, the best team in the nation, the Alabama Crimson Tide, facing our UConn Huskies at a 4 seed. Now, some may say that there's bias here. I don't think so. I think that this is a very doable path for UConn, and I think that UConn's a very strong team. Griff, give me your pick here because I'm lost, to be honest. I need some guidance.
Everybody wants Bama, right? Everybody's going to take Bama. Everybody thinks it's Bama. Everybody thinks it's Brandon Miller.
So my justification,
the only reason I don't want to take Bama is because, like I just said, I think everybody's going to take them.
Vegas doesn't lose. Vegas never loses, right? And you got to think how many futures are on Bama and how many brackets are picking Bama. The obvious choice never wins, right?
Exactly.
And it's the year of the dog. It's the year of the underdog. It's the year of the Husky. Huskies are dog. Huskies are the underdog. Give me UConn winning the national championship in 2023.
I'm right there with you. I can't even lie to you. I am right there with you. And I think that, it's the same exact thing. It's Kansas of last year, and it's the team that should win it, right? They find themselves in position to win it all, and they make it all the way down to the last game. And I feel like it's like that every year. And I feel like even if this exact game happens on the morning of April 3rd, I'm going to, be questioning myself of who I'm going to be putting money on in this game. And as of right now, officially, I'm going to take UConn to win it. And it's just, you're right. everybody is taking Bama. Vegas has Bama as, the heavy favorite, and that just is never the way that the ball rolls in March Madness. It can't be. It never has been. That's why everybody loves March Madness, and everybody loves a good story. And I think UConn would be one hell of a story. UConn 54-50.
All right, hold on. Let me write these down just so I have.
Low scoring game, 54-50. 58-54. UConn final. 58-54 UConn.
Will.
So I'm taking UConn here. My part of my reasoning, one, I like the reasoning before you guys said that everyone's on Alabama. I think that gives enough reason to want to pick UConn. But not only for that reason, I think both of these teams, this moment, this stage, can be too big for both of these teams. UConn hasn't been that far recently. Alabama really has never done it. So in this state, we look at, have they played each other? Yes. Has UConn won? Yes. Obviously, Alabama wasn't as strong at the time, but at this point in the season, these two teams are in the final for the national championship. I can equate them to be almost even in terms of strength. You have to think about it that way. If this team's already beaten number one, they've made it all the way to the final as a 4 seed. We have to put them somewhere close to each other. UConn is the 10th best team in the nation. It's got to be UConn here. I think it's going to be UConn. If they get to this point, I think UConn is going to win this. I think Alabama might end up crumbling a little bit. This moment can be too big. This moment definitely can be too big, and we've seen it a lot in national championship games where it happens. I am going to go UConn. $63-58.
63-58. My final score prediction is 68-62. UConn over Alabama. So that wraps up.
Yeah, and I mean, we have a few weeks of the real best part of the year if you are a basketball fan. That's what's coming up, and it's starting tonight on Wednesday night with a couple of last 4 end games. And I mean, what a road. If you guys tuned into a bit of a longer episode than we've been, pushing out there, very much so appreciated. Thank you guys for all the love on, the Big East episode as well, which has been one of our best performing episodes that we've ever had. And, it's been great kind of taking this shift into college basketball. And me and Stav talked about it. Me and Stav got a little soft at the end of the last episode, just talking about, what this college basketball season has done for us. And, just kind of the mentality that we've taken into it, obviously being a football podcast, moving on to this and watching just a crap ton of college basketball. It's been a hell of a journey, and it's going to be even better throughout the next 2-3 weeks to break down all these games with you guys. So, like I said, if you guys tune into, this hour and 45-minute long episode, that's greatly appreciated. We hope you guys enjoyed our picks, and hopefully you guys are riding with us for some of them, but not all of them, because we want to be the only perfect bracket around. But with that being said, that's going to wrap up this episode. We hope you guys enjoy the madness. We will catch you guys later in the week. Hopefully, me and Stav still on spring break, so we should have some time to push out another episode this week. If not, we will catch you guys for sure, no doubt in my mind, early next week. As always, we hope you guys enjoy, and peace.